On all my videos I will be commenting as a private citizen and with my own opinions. If you are looking for a lawyer reacts style channel, email me and I can recommend several very good ones. That being said, I am a retired lawyer with over a decade of experience as a prosecutor and over 15 years as a criminal defense attorney. I taught other prosecutors, as well as at the police academy. Additionally, I taught pre-law at the undergraduate level. Given that I have that level of experience, I can't help but approach every video I comment on with my particular set of skills. What I will not do is offer any legal advice, so please don't ask. Absolutely nothing in this video constitutes legal advice. If you are in need of legal advice, please retain competent legal counsel in the relevant jurisdiction. Take everything you hear from a YouTube video with a grain of salt. There are a lot of people on here offering legal advice that are not competent to do so. Please always consult a competent lawyer for yourself.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
To begin, let me apologize for the length of this video. I hope you will invest the time to watch it in its entirety, as I honestly think you will find it both informative and interesting. I have been watching Chili DeCastro's live streams for days now. Some of his streams I have watched several times over. Because of my varied background and experiences, I have developed a fairly good understanding of narcissistic personality disorder. However, I'm trained as a lawyer, not as a psychiatrist. So, I have found a very good doctor to explain what it is. I'm going to show the doctor explaining it and I'm going to mix in my comments, along with selections from Chili's own videos, so that we might fully discuss Mr. DeCastro. I will post a link to the doctor's YouTube channel in the description. Now, let's hear from the doctor before we make any snap judgments.
Now, when we're talking about narcissism, it's something we often associate with someone who is toxic, someone who is selfish, someone who can be abusive. And yes, there may well be very strong traits of narcissism there, but not necessarily a personality disorder. With a personality disorder, this is an extreme form of narcissism. It's constantly present, it's long-term, it's pervasive, and it's chronic.
Who does that sound like? Don't draw any conclusions just yet. Keep going.
I often describe a disorder as looking at the impact it has on a person's day-to-day functioning, the impact it has on the relationship they have with themselves and with other people around them. The disorder itself can also be comorbid, meaning it's present alongside another personality disorder, such as antisocial personality disorder. But for today, I'm just going to be looking at narcissistic personality disorder as set out in DSM-5. So it's part of the cluster B group of personalities. Now, these personality types are considered to have erratic behavior and a difficulty in regulating emotions. And like all personality disorders, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of diagnosis. There is what I often think of as a spectrum, meaning there are many different colors and many different shades. And with narcissism, we see the same thing. The two most common types would be the grandiose narcissist, sometimes referred to as the overt narcissist. This is the in-your-face, there's no one like me kind of narcissist. You're privileged to have me in your life. Very resistant to criticism.
I think we have all seen instances where Chili has essentially said that people should be glad to have him in their area because he is sticking up for the rights of people who can't. Yet he never explains why those people can't stick up for themselves.
I'm using you? Go on camera, tell them. Tell everybody. I'll give you a fair chance to speak.
You are using people.
I'm using them. For what?
You're using these people.
For what do I get out of it?
For your own publicity.
For my publicity?
Yes.
Because I just want to be famous?
I don't know.
I didn't study constitutional law for 20 years. I don't understand the Federalist Papers.
I don't know what
I didn't read the Constitution?
You might have.
So you mean that poor, uneducated people, who most don't have their teeth, there'd be no reason why I would want to stand up for their rights. No reason at all.
No, listen, I'm all about...
Did you catch Chili demonstrating the traits that the doctor has discussed? Did you also catch him disparaging his supporters by calling them toothless?
The other being the covert or the vulnerable narcissist. Now, this is the one who's very sensitive to criticism and will often play the victim, the helpless or the innocent victim. And according to DSM-5, there are 9 criteria that go into making a diagnosis. 5 of which must be met consistently to be able to diagnose. So let's have a closer look at them. Criteria number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Now, this can involve exaggerating pretty much everything. Their achievements, their affluence, exaggerating how important their input into something has been. And regardless of anyone else's skill sets, accomplishments, beliefs, they will claim they know more about it.
To show how he fits this description, I would have too many clips of Chili to choose from. Watch pretty much any of Chili's videos and he will happily tell you how he knows more about the Constitution than anyone, including lawyers and judges, and he will tell you that he knows more about police procedures than police officers.
They will know more about plumbing than the plumber. They will know more about brain surgery than the brain surgeon.
This is a travesty of justice. This has national implications, Mr. Waldo. You may be the highest ranking man of justice in this court. By you allowing the police to keep my camera in a retaliatory move to get my confidential informant's information out of my phone is unconstitutional, and it is wrong. And so Judge Kevin Waldo, I told him this morning I wanted my camera back, that they'd taken it after I filed a lawsuit against them, and he said that the cops have a chance to reply to my Replevin Act.
Criteria number 2 is preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, brilliance, beauty, and perfect love. This meaning they believe themselves to be perfect, flawless, highly accomplished at pretty much everything. Regardless of their position, say in the workplace, in an organization, they believe that they are running it. The place would close down tomorrow if they were to leave. There can be little to no regard or respect for other people's boundaries, for their self-will, for their autonomy. They tend to give other people choices that they decide would be in their best interest.
He needs to do his job a little bit better than what he did back in October the 4th, 2010.
Did you sign
Him and Aaron Bollinger both.
Did you sign the petition to recall Jeff Lawless?
No.
Can you do that?
Yes. I'll think about it.
Oh, you don't want to recall Jeff Lawless? You want him in office?
No.
Criteria number 3. They believe that they are special and can only be understood or should associate with other people or organizations that are special. Now, again, in a work setting, this could look like they only ever really associate with people at a higher level than they are. People at the same level, they tend to either ignore or just at best tolerate. Anyone at a junior level is either going to be ignored, is going to be bullied, is going to be ordered around. The belief being, I suppose, that this is their world and others are privileged to be allowed to be a part in it. Anyone that they see as beneath them, they generally aren't going to waste their time with them.
Her last name is part of the tyranny here in Ohio. Puts people in jail for she puts people in, doesn't she? Is she part of the tyranny? I'm funny?
You're hysterical.
Really? You think there's due process of law happening here? Do you think there's due process of law happening here? Do you think people are getting due process, sir?
Yeah, I do.
If I'm hysterical, are people getting due process of law? What about the interview? Tim, can you have one
Pretty
second?
dramatic, isn't it?
But what about last night when I interviewed Eugene and he was up for a felony, he didn't get a jury trial? Is that due process of law? Do you think that's due process? Could you consider that you talk to me, sir. I'm just talking to you back. Are you afraid of the camera? Are you afraid? Are you scared of transparency? Is that what it is? That's what everybody's afraid of. Can't record in the court, and now I have to just take what they give me for audio. We also need to file so that we get a copy of the transcripts from this court case. See, you can laugh all you want, kid, till it happens to you. Kid back here is laughing. Here, just slide that way, would you, ma'am? Will you slide over there? I don't want to get you on camera. Kid's back there laughing, right? He's back there laughing until it happens to him. Go on vacation to any other state, and when it happens to you, kid, you give me a call. I'll help you out. See him back there laughing? He thinks it's real funny. Until it happens to him. Until it happens to him. Until he's the one that gets caught. He thinks it's real funny.
Number 4, requires excessive admiration. Now, with narcissistic personality disorder, there is a need to be worshipped. No good deed goes unpraised. Charity begins with an audience. And I've made a video recently on the altruistic narcissist, if you want to have a look at that just to see what I mean. Now, I think that this is due to a lack of emotional depth and a lack of insight and a lack of the ability to self-validate. The constant need for external validation and praise feeds their ego. They are drop-dead gorgeous. They are the funniest, most intelligent person you will ever meet. And some may confuse this with high self-esteem. when actually the opposite is true. This is extremely low self-esteem. When they aren't praised, when they don't get the recognition they feel they deserve, this can be extremely crushing, and it can bring about either a rage, a manic episode, or it can bring about extreme depression. An example that comes to mind would be someone who made me tea once. They had just offered me a cup of tea. Yeah, thank you very much. But they put sugar in it. Now, I don't take sugar, and all I did was point out that I don't take sugar. She spent the rest of the day with her knuckles trailing on the floor, weeping, just wanting the world to end, but shouting at the junior people around her.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, Sarah. What would have happened if I wasn't here to cover the $100?
I've been screwed. I would have been screwed.
Do you have $100 cash in your pocket?
That's like half a week's pay for us. Like, I mean, pay.
We do it $10
But yet you do have a smartphone in your pocket that you could record the audio with, right?
Criteria number 5. Has a sense of entitlement, such as unreasonable expectations for favourable treatment or compliance with their expectations. Now, as the criteria suggests, people with narcissistic personality disorder believe that they are entitled. They deserve the top position, even if they've no experience or aptitude. They deserve the credit and praise for whatever it is, even if they played little to no part in it. And they demand that others meet their sometimes unreasonable or unrealistic expectations. When they don't meet their own expectations, they will often blame or lash out at others. When others don't meet their expectations, sometimes they're constantly shifting expectations. Again, this can bring about an episode of outrage or low mood and depression.
A video clip would actually be too long to include here, but while in Ironton he filed paperwork to use the lobby of the city hall at the day and time he actually wanted to use it. He then demanded that the mayor come downstairs and sign the permit. The mayor had in fact left the building several hours earlier. Chili clearly had unreasonable expectations that he was so special and important that the mayor should jump at his beck and call. Chili did not understand that permits have to be applied for in advance so that personnel can be made available to open the building, a police officer can be dispatched to provide security, and janitor staff can be made available to clean up after his event and close up the building. These kinds of plans must be in place in advance of the use of the building. That is why permits are required to be in place in advance. But apparently those rules don't apply to Chili.
Criteria number 6 is exploitative and takes advantage of others to achieve their own ends. Now, depending on the nature, the severity of the disorder, even the situation, this exploitation, yes, it can be deliberate, but it's not necessarily a conscious decision. They just exploit others because it's all they know how to do. They don't necessarily know how to debate or negotiate in order to get what they want. And that could look like maybe them asking someone to help them out with a task or a project or something, but pretty much not asking them to help, just getting them to do all the work. However, when the work is completed, they tend to take the credit for themselves. Other times they may set a task to set someone up to feel they get to feel good by devaluing that person whenever they feel.
Sorry about that. So what's going to happen next? Okay, I'm going to have to go for a little while, for a couple weeks, but what I've done is I have left behind an auditor in Ironton. You guys now have a full-time auditor in your town, and he goes by, you guys can go to his YouTube channel. It's called Ironton Auditor. You can find him by going to Ironton Auditor, and he's just now getting all of his stuff set up. We set this up yesterday. We set it up so that there's always going to be someone there to film the cops in your town. That's what we've been doing for the past 24 hours.
So Chili has stirred up a lot of trouble in the town. Now he is going to be gone for several weeks. He has left someone behind to fill in for him. He has likely set them up to fail. If he fails, Chili will distance himself from him. However, if this person succeeds, Chili will take the credit for that.
Number 7, lacks empathy and is unwilling to identify with the needs of others. Now, the key term being unwilling, not unable. When we think of a lack of empathy, now that does not mean no empathy. It's an empathy deficit. Now, sometimes it might mean the narcissist is maybe unable to recognize the impact of their behaviors on others. Remember, they struggle to regulate their own feelings. Other times, when a narcissist is being malignant, it's because there is a level of empathy. There's enough empathy there, and sometimes it's referred to as a cognitive empathy or a dark empathy. And again, I've made a video on dark empathy, the dark empath, if you want to check that out. But with dark or cognitive empathy, they can generally understand what it is they're doing. They understand the impact it's having on others, the fact that maybe they're hurting them or putting them under a strain or whatever. The thing is, when being malignant, they enjoy it. They get a kick out of it.
Chili fakes empathy for the people he interviews, but the truth is that he uses it to serve his own purposes.
Number 8. Is envious of others and believes that others are envious of them. Now again, it is what it says, and that envy can manifest itself in many different ways. They may be overly controlling in their relationships, not wanting the partner to have any other friends or contact with anyone else, constantly accusing them of cheating, being up to no good. And it could be not just the controlling, not just because they're selfish. It could be at times because they envy the partner's ability to connect with others on more than just the surface level. Other times it may be a fear of others pointing out how badly that person's being treated. That person might leave. Then there is the wanting to be envied. Now, an example of this would be a guy I used to know who would either lift his phone or his car keys out of his pocket, and when he was doing that, he would be scanning the room to see if people can see his brand new phone or the type of car that he's driving. Now, if no one noticed, he would be making exaggerated gestures to try and get people to notice. And if that didn't work, then he would just start openly talking about his brand new whatever it is and how amazing it is. But one way or another, constantly wanting others to notice what he has or what he could do or what he had done, wanting them to envy him.
I've never been laid. Bro, I've had more girlfriends than you can count on both fingers and toes, and they were babes. I'm talking tens. I've had 2 girlfriends at the same time for a year who were both tens. I never get laid. 2 girlfriends, same time, who knew about each other. Did you ever have that? Okay. You sure I never get laid, bro? If I wanted to get laid, I could get laid right now.
Lastly, criteria number 9 shows arrogant, haughty behaviours and attitudes. Now, again, I think this is more an indication of low self-esteem. You know, people with a healthy level of self-esteem don't necessarily need to make other people feel bad just to feel good about themselves. People with a healthy level of self-esteem can bring out the best in others and not feel threatened. Now, this behaviour can look like being condescending to others, playing down, ridiculing, scorning other people's achievements, efforts, whatever. And because they are very resistant or sensitive to any kind of criticism, even a disagreement, that can be humiliating to them. So what we often see is this behaviour crank up a gear or two. Now, the guy I was telling you about earlier with the keys and the phone and so on, again, he would lift it out for people to see. He would try and wave it about to try and get their attention. He would be openly talking about how amazing this whatever it is. And when he still wasn't getting the praise, he would what he would do is he would tend to get someone on their own and actually openly tell them to their face how envious and jealous they are. Then they would go into either a rage or a sulk when that person challenged them and even told other people about their bad behaviour. So what we see, when we see a combination of these criteria, when these are combined, we see someone who is intensely disagreeable. We see someone who will reject anything outside of their own frame of reference. They have a strong belief that others must believe and comply with them. We see controlling behaviour, either through domination, through intimidation, through sarcasm, or we see guilt tripping and shaming. There is an inability to accept any responsibility for themselves, and because of that lack of responsibility, they never really seem to grow. So where does it come from? Well, I think that's a video for itself another time. We could be here all day discussing that, but there are strong indications of both biological and environmental factors at play. Can someone with narcissistic personality disorder be helped? Well, I think they can, but I think they can in the sense it involves them recognizing something has to change. They would need to recognize the impact their behavior has on themselves and on others. They would have to want to do the work in order to change. However, I think the difficulty is the belief that they are already perfect. Any faults lie outside of themselves. That belief is so strong. So if they believe the fault lies outside of themselves, they often believe the solution lies outside of themselves. Other people have to change in order to make the world better. Anyway, that's a brief outline of narcissistic personality disorder. Now, if you
In review, the doctor says you need to meet 5 of the 9 criteria. I think we've shown Chili matches far more than 5. Now that you've heard from the doctor, I'll let you decide, but I think I've made my case here. If you enjoy my videos, please like, subscribe and set the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. I'll be regularly posting videos busting the chops of First Amendment auditors and sovereign citizens. Thanks for watching.